gracious good day to one and all once again. 'Tis I, Norton the First, by grace of God, Emperor of the United States and Protector of Mexico, back with you for the weekend edition of Emperor Norton's fantastic history vlog. And as we always do on the weekends, we welcome our guest superstar, the Countess Lola Montez of Landsfeld. Good day, Countess.
Good day, Your Majesty. And how are you faring?
We are faring splendidly today.
Wonderful.
This is episode number 194. Today is the 27th of February, 2021. It's our 348th day living under COVID-19 restrictions. Wow. We are coming up on a year. Hard to believe.
It is indeed hard to believe, but it's good to be here.
Indeed, it is. Home and safe. So...
And there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
There is. We're getting our second shots, our jab.
Yes.
Tomorrow. So hopefully we won't be growing horns out of our heads or anything like that, but we'll be a little bit safer than we were. So what do you have for us today, Countess?
Well, we have a lot of surprises, and we will delve into history for Black Bart. For those of you that have never heard of him, you're in for a treat of the gentleman robber. And thank you all for tuning in.
Indeed.
Be sure to like and subscribe and comment below. We would love to hear from you. And thank you for all your generosity for those of you that have given us gratuities and all that sort of thing.
Indeed.
We are indeed in service and gratitude.
We couldn't do this without you.
Now, a little later on today, we're going to have a little bit of that lovely felony charity case.
Ooh.
Singing for us, Someone to Watch Over Me. And,
Is that what the government's doing?
Well, my God. Did why did Karl Marx dislike the Earl Grey tea?
Why is that?
Because proper tea is theft. Why were the early days of history called the Dark Ages?
Why is that?
Because there were so many nights. Why did George Washington have trouble sleeping?
Why is that?
Because he couldn't lie. Where did Montezuma go to college?
Where's that?
Aztec. Who invented fractions, Your Majesty?
Well, who would that be?
Henry VI. What was Camelot famous for?
What's that?
It's nightlife. Why did people hate Ho Chi Minh?
Why is that?
He was ha-noing. Do you know how the Vikings communicated at sea?
No, how?
By Norse code, of course. Why did Julius Caesar buy crayons?
Why is that?
He wanted to mark Anthony. Eve wanted to move to New York. Why? Because she fell for the Big Apple. A Roman walks into a bar and says, "Martunus!" "Don't you mean martini?" says the bartender, and the Roman says, "If I wanted a double, I would have asked for it." Well, shall we move on to today's topic?
I think we should.
Yes, and I will consult my notes. Now, Black Bart was a very notorious character here in San Francisco in the 1870s. And if he had been walking down the street of San Francisco, no one would imagine that this man was really the famous or infamous Black Bart, the stage robber poet of Northern California, or P.O.8, as he was noted for, referred to himself. He was a man that liked to live well and intended to do just that. Well, he stayed in fine hotels, ate in the best restaurants, and wore the finest clothes. Now, all he had to do was find a way to earn a living to support his preferred lifestyle, and Charles E. Bowles found a dandy. Charles E. Bowles, a.k.a. Black Bart, a.k.a. Charles E. Bolton, lived in San Francisco, and he was a man well into his 50s, about 5'8", and he was ramrod straight with gray hair and mustache, a natty dresser. He favored diamonds and carried a short cane. People seeing him walk down the street in the 1870s of San Francisco would have thought him nothing more than a kindly gentleman and prosperous old grandpa out for a leisurely stroll. But he was more than that, much, much more. No one could have imagined that this man was really famous or infamous Black Bart, the stage robber poet. Now, the legend began on a mountain pass called Funk Hill in Calaveras County, 4 miles outside of Copperopolis, California, on July 26, 1875. A man appeared before a Wells Fargo stage driver, John Shine, later a U.S. Marshal and a California state senator. The man wore a long soiled duster over his clothes and covered his head was a flour sack with holes that had been cut out for eyes. Now, the man carried a double-barreled 12-gauge shotgun and a Henry rifle hung over his shoulder. A deep voice commanded, "Throw down the box." Bart then said, "If he dare shoot, give him a solid volley, boys." And Shine looked around, and protruding from the boulders on the hillside were what appeared to be 6 rifles. Shine quickly reached beneath the seat and withdrew the Wells Fargo strongbox, a wooden box reinforced with iron bands and padlocks. It was containing $348, according to Wells Fargo, and tossed it and the mail sack to the ground. Shine warned his passengers, 8 women and children, and 2 men, to refrain from doing anything stupid. One of the women travelers threw out her purse in panic. Black Bart reportedly picked it up, bowed to the lady, and handed it back to her. "Madam, I do not wish your money," he said. "In that respect, I honor only the good office of Wells Fargo." With a sweep of his hand, Bart motioned Shine on his way, and as Shine drove away, the driver took a quick glance back and saw the man attack the strongbox with a hatchet. Shine drove off some distance and then stopped the stage, and Shine's stage had barely gone up the hill when a second coach, driven by Donald McLean of Sonora, started up the hill and came upon the robber hacking away at the treasure box. McLean stopped the stage, and Bart asked him to throw down the express box. McLean, with the double-barreled shotgun pointed at him, said that he did not have an express box. Believing the driver, Bart told him to drive on unmolested. McLean brought up with Shine's stage at the top of the, he caught up with Shine's stage at the top of the hill, and the drivers and a couple of male passengers walked back down the road, saw a half a dozen guns leveled at them from outlaws positioned behind boulders. They stood still and then realized the outlaws were not moving. It was sticks. pointed at them from the boulders. Bart was not a rampant pillager of Wells Fargo. He only robbed stages periodically, sometimes with as much as 9 months time between the robberies, and he later stated that he took only what he needed when he needed it. Most stagecoach drivers were submissive to Bart, seldom defying him to cross word and obediently tossing down the strongbox when ordered to do so. This was not so with hard case George W. Hackett, who on July 13th, 1882, was driving a Wells Fargo stage some 9 miles outside of Strawberry, California. Bart suddenly darted from a boulder and stood in front of the stage, stopping it and leveling a shotgun at Hackett. He politely said, "Please throw down your strongbox." Hackett was not pleased to do so. He reached for a rifle and fired a shot at the bandit. Bart dashed into the woods and vanished, but he received a scalp wound that would leave a permanent scar on the top right side of his forehead. The lone bandit continued to stop Wells Fargo stages with regularity, always along mountain roads when the driver was compelled to slow down at dangerous curves. It was later estimated that Bart robbed as much as $18,000 from Wells Fargo stages over the course of his career, striking 28 times. He left no clues whatsoever, although he did leave a spare gun after one robbery. He was always extremely courteous to passengers, especially women travelers, refusing to take their jewelry and cash. He made a favorable impression on drivers and passengers alike as a courteous, gentlemanly robber who apparently wanted to avoid a gunfight at all cost. On July 30th, 1878, while robbing the stage from La Porte to Oroville, Black Bart added to his legend. Again, a woman traveler attempted to get out of the stage and give up her valuables to Bart. Black Bart stopped her and said, "No, lady, don't get out. I'll never bother the passengers. Keep calm. I'll be through here in a minute and on my way." With that, he took the express box containing $50 in gold and silver, a watch, the mail sack, and was on his way. Now, with his loot, Bart had invested in several small businesses, which brought him a modest income, but he could not resist the urge to go back to robbing stages when money became short. After so many successful robberies, the P08 thought his luck would continue forever. But it was not to be. On November 3rd, 1883, his luck ran out. Why did Charles Bowles decide to call himself Black Bart? Black Bart himself told Henry Morse and Captain Stone when they were going out to pick up the gold amalgam from his last robbery. He said that he had read the story, The Case of Summerfield, several years earlier. Did I pronounce that right?
I believe so.
Amalgam.
Almagam.
Almagam.
It's one of the words I have trouble with. Anyway, close enough.
Yes. When he was researching for a name, that one popped into his mind, and he chuckled at the stir his verse had created when he signed his name Black Bart. On June 30th, 1864, supposed Confederate troops had held up the Placerville stage, and Captain Henry M. Ingraham, CSA, recepted to Wells Fargo for the treasure. Then in 1871, a San Francisco lawyer, William H. Rhodes, under the pen name Caxton, resurrected the captain as Bartholomew Graham in a dime novel story called The Case of Summerfield, which appeared also in the Sacramento Union. Graham, known as Black Bart, according to Rhodes, had been engaged in the late robbery of Wells Fargo's Express at Grizzly Bend. He was unruly and a wild villain who wore all black, had a full black beard, and a mess of wild curly black hair. It should be noted that Charles Bowles never wore black, nor did he have a beard, nor was his hair black. Of more importance was the rest of his description. He is 5 foot 10 inches in height and clear blue eyes, and served in the Civil War. Well, that just goes to show, you can write a novel of fiction based on truth, but as you and I often say, we don't write history. History writes itself. Indeed. By using the name Black Bart, Bowles took advantage of an estimated dime novel bad guy, so the robber Black Bart was already known to someone to be feared. If you were robbed by Black Bart, you didn't argue. You just gave up the loot. At the 4th and 5th robbery, Bart left a note. He signed the note with the name that would go down in Western history, Black Bart, P.O. 8. Now, the letter and number mystified lawmen as much as the name Black Bart. Any tracking posse found no trace of the elusive bandit, and superstition had it that the stage indeed had been robbed by a ghost. With his poetry and his gentlemanly behavior, made some think of Black Bart as a Robin Hood figure, wearing a bowler hat and a long linen duster coat. And in 1883, the Wells Fargo detective James B. Hume traced a mark on a handkerchief dropped by Bart to a laundry on Bush Street here in San Francisco. Black Bart was sentenced to 8 years in San Quentin, but released after 4 years for good behavior. Aged and in poor health, he disappeared from the Palace Hotel in Visalia, California, and was never seen again. There were only 2 poems, but it is one of the most recognizable parts of the legend from the 4th robbery, and I will quote, "I've labored long and hard for bread, for honor and for riches, but on my corns too long you've tread, you fine-haired sons of bitches." Black Bart, the P.O. 8. After Bart's release from prison, there was another robbery where a poem was left in the same fashion that Bart always left, his poems. Detective Hume examined the note and compared it with the genuine Black Bart bits of poetry of the past. He declared the new verse a hoax and the work of another man, declaring that he was certain Black Bart had permanently retired. This gave rise to the later notion that Wells Fargo had actually pensioned off the robber on his promise that he would stop no more of its stages, paying him handsome annuity until his death. What is the truth? Charles Earl Bowles was born in Norfolk, England in 1829, and he was the 3rd of 10 children, having 6 brothers and 3 sisters. And when he was 2 years old, his parents immigrated to Jefferson County, New York, where his father purchased a farm 4 miles north of Plessis Village in the direction of Alexandra Bay. In late 1849, he and his brothers, David and James, joined the California Gold Rush, prospecting in North Fork of American River near Sacramento. And they traveled home in 1852, but Bowles later returned with his brothers, David and Robert. Now, both brothers fell ill shortly after their arrival and died. And Charles Bowles remained in California for another 2 more years before giving up and returning east. Again in 1854, Bowles married Mary Elizabeth Johnson, and by 1860, they were living with their 4 children in Decatur, Illinois. Now, on August 13th, 1862, Bowles enlisted as a private in Company B, 116th Illinois Regiment. His name was spelled B-O-L-E-S in the company records. He was a good soldier and became first sergeant within a year, and Bowles was seriously wounded at the Battle of Vicksburg and took part in Sherman's march to the sea. He received brevet commissions as both second lieutenant and first lieutenant, and on June 7th, 1865, was discharged with his regiment in Washington, D.C. He returned home to his family in Illinois. In 1867, Bowles went prospecting for gold in Idaho and Montana. In a surviving letter to his wife from August of 1871, he told her of an unpleasant encounter with some Wells Fargo and Company agents and vowed to exact revenge. His wife never heard from him again, and in time presumed he had died. He robbed Wells Fargo stages at least 28 times across Northern California between 1875 and 1883, often taking in thousands of dollars a year. Bowles, by the way, was afraid of horses and made all of his robberies on foot. And he reportedly never once fired a weapon during his years as an outlaw. His last holdup took place on November 3rd, 1883, at the site of his first robbery on Funk Hill, southeast of present town of Copperopolis. When Bowles tried to remove the strongbox from the stage, it was bolted to the floor, and it took more time to remove it. Well, the driver, McConnell, and the 19-year-old son of the ferryman, Jimmy Rollery, fired as Bowles ran to the thicket. Jimmy wounded Black Bart, and they found a small, blood-stained bundle of mail he had dropped. He had been wounded in the hand, and he ran a quarter of a mile. He stopped and wrapped a handkerchief around his hand to control the bleeding. He left behind him personal items in his fleeing attempts. Eyeglasses, some food, and a handkerchief with a laundry marked FX07. Wells Fargo detective James B. Hume found these at the scene, and Hume and Detective Harry N. Morse contacted every laundry in San Francisco about the laundry mark. After visiting nearly 90 laundries, they finally traced it to Ferguson and Biggs, California Laundry on Bush Street, and were able to learn that the handkerchief belonged to a man who had lived in a modest boarding house, and the detectives learned that Bowles called himself a mining engineer and made frequent business trips that coincided with Wells Fargo robberies. After initially denying he was Black Bart, Bowles eventually admitted he had robbed several Wells Fargo stages, though he only confessed to crimes committed before 1879. Now, when booked, he gave his name as T.Z. Spaulding, but police found a Bible, a gift from his wife, inscribed with his real name. Wells Fargo only pressed charges on the final robberies. Bowles was convicted and sentenced to 6 years in San Quentin prison, but he was released after 4 years for good behavior. In January of 1888, his health had clearly deteriorated due to his time in prison. He had visibly aged, his eyesight was failing, and he had gone deaf in one ear. Reporters swarmed around him when he was released and asked if he was going to rob any more stagecoaches. "No, gentlemen," he replied, smiling, "I'm through with crime." There were many rumors of where Black Bart went for his final days: New York City, Montana, Nevada. Some even speculate Japan. Or perhaps On the streets of San Francisco, his ghost still haunts the Wells Fargo Bank.
Wow. What an impressive story. And thank you, because I always thought the Black Bart was a segregated transportation system.
Let me ponder that for a moment.
Not too long.
Well, shall we have some entertainment?
Oh, yes. That would be
all
wonderful,
righty.
wouldn't it?
Well, I will introduce Miss Felony Charity Case, and she's going to be singing Someone to Watch Over Me. Now, this gal has been lurking in the dark corners of the Horny Bull Bareback Bar in Killeen, Texas, for longer than you can say up for parole, and her sticky, nimble fingers are only to be outdone by her moaning, sighing, and expressive incarcerating hold on her heartstrings when she executes a song. Her full name is Felony Charity Case, but she will always testify to Miss Felony. We're going to call her up.
Oh, yes.
An iggity-piggity bumblebee. Oh, Felony Charity Case, sing for me. There's a saying old, says that love is blind. But still we often are told, seek and ye shall find. So I'm gonna seek a certain lad I've had in mind. Looking everywhere, haven't found him yet. He's the big affair I can't forget. Only man I ever think of with regret. I'd like to add his initials to a monogram. Tell me, where is the shepherd for this lost lamb? There's a somebody I'm longing to see. I hope that he turns out to be someone who'll watch over me. I'm a little lamb who's lost in the wood. I know I could always be good to one who'll watch over me. Although he may not be the man some girls think of as handsome, oh, to put my heart he carries, oh, the key. Well, won't you tell him, please, put on some speed, follow my lead. Oh, how I need someone to watch over me. Oh, someone to watch over someone to watch over me.
Oh, we made it back. That's good.
Yes.
Well, that was wonderful.
Isn't she something?
She really is.
Thank you, Felony.
Indeed.
Yes, lovely.
Well, that wraps it up for this edition. Now, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. Also, if you would like to support us with a donation, we greatly appreciate our generous donors. Couldn't do it without you. Here's the information for that. There's also links in the description down below. We shall be returning to touring at some point. So if you'd like more information about those tours, sftimemachine.com. We'll be having another edition of the Trivia Quest coming up soon. So,
that was fun, wasn't it? Lovely last week.
It was a good crowd of 11. We had a wonderful time. So we'll be announcing the date for the next one very, very soon. Brush up on your trivia. So until we see you again, stay safe and stay healthy. But if you go outside, wear your mask. Even if you've gotten the vaccines to protect yourself and others, we will return to normal someday. Do not take unproven cures that might just kill you. Be kind to one another. Until we see you again, a gracious good day.
Thank you for watching. Au revoir.